Amidst the ruin, devastation, and loss of lives in Haiti, Pat Robertson says it's happening because the country made a deal with the devil. How incredibly insensitive is that? Speaking of insensitive, don't mess with the golden arches, lady. You can throw a thing around at Mickey D's, but what you going to do when Ronald McDonald comes for you? Sure, we had rain Wednesday morning, but I guarantee this, the filter forecast is ready to brighten your day. Hello again on the Filter Forefront. Our top four, including your new neighbor, the prisoner. But we'll get started with this. Now, we know how devastating earthquakes are in Southern California, the destruction they cause, the lives they can ruin. If you have an ounce of compassion as a human being, your heart goes out to those in Haiti. A 7.0 earthquake has killed thousands. The survivors are terrified. The American Red Cross has run out of medical supplies. After a disaster of this magnitude, the question is always asked, how could this happen? Pat Robertson knows. He said the people of Haiti had it coming.
Something happened a long time ago in Haiti, and people may not want to talk about it. They were under the heel of the French. Napoleon III and whatever. And they got together and swore a pact to the devil. They said, we will serve you if you'll get us free from the French. True story. And so the devil said, okay, it's a deal.
The Haitians made a pact with the devil, so they got what they deserved. Our contributors joining us via Skype, civil rights attorney and talk show host Leo Terrell, and nationally syndicated columnist, the advice goddess Amy Alkon. Amy, I'm going to start with you. Now, the Prime Minister of Haiti is concerned the death toll could be more than 100,000. You're on the clock. According to Pat Robertson, do they deserve that?
Clearly, donations are down for Pat. This is the guy who needs so much attention. He had to say 9/11 was caused because Heather has two mommies, and guys in the West Village with leather pants with the butt cheeks cut out were running around. And this is just more of the same. And actually, everything he said there was a lie. He just makes it up whole hog and says it's true. There was this whole thing with the priest there, and he had an animal sacrifice when, when the whole Haitian Revolution happened. But, frankly, if you want the French to leave, I find that plastic tableware and macaroni and cheese out of a box, those things tend to do the trick quite nicely.
Leo, it is mind-boggling to me that Pat Robertson could make a comment like that at a time like this.
Fred, it's so sad and tragic in a disaster of this type of proportion. It's the same type of rhetoric Pat Robertson used with Hurricane Katrina, saying that God was punishing Americans as a result of Hurricane Katrina. Every time there's a natural disaster, Pat Robertson opens his big mouth and tries to inject religion in it as a way to scare people. This old legend, being a history teacher, unless Pat Robertson was around in 1791 when the Haitians fought for their independence for 13 years, I don't know how in the world he could try to scare people. It's tragic. It's sad. The focus should be on helping those people who are buried under concrete rocks.
I couldn't agree more. What's
really callous about this is that actually it's about the business of religion. Pat doesn't want you taking your business elsewhere, so he uses this to scare you into coming back to the church and donating and all that.
Well, I'll tell you what, didn't work with me. I wouldn't be donating to his church right now. Okay.
Exactly.
Sometime in the next 2 years, you might be getting a new neighbor, an inmate from a California prison released early. Howdy, neighbor. Due to overcrowding and inadequate medical and mental health care, a panel of 3 federal judges ordered the governor to start letting inmates out every 6 months until 40,000 have been released. The state has appealed to the Supreme Court. It'll decide on Friday whether to take up the matter. The prisons are so bad, they're not good for the prisoners. But do we really want them released early, Leo?
No, we don't. But Fred, there is something called cruel and unusual punishment. And those inmates want a lawsuit because of overcrowding, they're being denied medical treatment. Now, that's not justification for letting felons out early. They need to be put in other locations. However, there's a problem here. There's not enough money. There's overcrowding. There's people being injured within the jails. And apparently there needs to be a resolution. I'm not calling for these inmates to be released, but I think it's unfair. This country has a conscience. We don't want people in a situation that is overcrowding and being denied medical treatment.
Leo, I agree with you 100%, but I don't want a guy who was convicted and in prison released early and moving in or moving down the street next to me.
Right. These people are not there out of 40,000 cases of mistaken identity. But actually, I have a solution. You have to kill the death penalty, which costs California $137 million a year. This will allow you to keep the animals in their cages. This is very important. And then another solution, which I've mentioned before on this show, is that these people who, they have to pay for their crimes, really pay, literally pay. Let them run on hamster wheels, empower California, and pay for the room and board, and pay restitution to their victims.
Yeah, but the problem is simply this, though. We're not focusing on the real problem. The real problem is up in Sacramento with the legislature not having the money to house these prisoners. You can't have it both ways. You can't incarcerate these people without giving them the proper conditions to stay within the prison. And that's what the lawsuit is all about.
But they can't pay. They have no money, Amy. They can't pay. They have no money. How are they going to pay?
No, I want them to work. They should not be just sitting there watching better TV than I have.
Oh, come on. Come on. Working for what? For free?
They should be working to pay their way in prison and pay restitution. Only when they pay it does the little door unlock.
No, I disagree with that. I mean, they're incarcerated. They lose a tremendous amount of rights. I don't want them working for free. That's not right. There are certain rights they still have, notwithstanding the fact that they're in prison.
Let's
give them satin pillows. I think we should do that.
No. All right, now, Leo, you're talking about what's going on in Sacramento. How about this? The people of California are obsessed with marijuana. Some want it legalized, while others are trying to figure out how to regulate medical marijuana. The latest plan from the LA City Council is to come up with two plans written by the city attorney and then pick. One would restrict dispensaries 1,000 feet from schools, parks, library, child care facilities, youth centers, and rehab centers. It also bans them from being adjacent to residences. The other plan moves them 500 feet from everywhere I just mentioned. Should there be a limit, and if so, how far, Amy?
I mean, this is ridiculous. This is about wanting to get rid of the pot dispensaries. And the idea that somehow if they're near schools, that is the only way children will see them is ridiculous. These places are everywhere. They're on the beach. Millions of children pass them every year. And I have to say, actually, if you want to make pot uncool, the people who go to these are the most boring people. A lawyer, a bunch of LA Times columnists who wrote boring pieces about being boring people who got boring prescriptions for pot. Parents should talk to their kids about drug use and not try to pretend it isn't there.
Yeah,
and
but
frankly,
whoa. I understand they should talk to them and try to pretend it's not there. But as a parent, you have to do your best job to make sure that they're not exposed or encouraged because it's sitting right in front of their face.
Wait a minute, Fred. But Fred, let me jump in here.
Go ahead, Leo.
First of all, this is medical marijuana. This is not a pot for sale. These are people who are getting a prescription. I have a problem with this restriction of 500 feet or 1,000 feet. If the pot was being sold for illegal purposes, that's one thing. But Fred, this is medical marijuana. They have to get a prescription. It's being used for people who have a problem to relieve pain. Why do we need a restriction at all?
Leo, now you cannot be serious and sit here and tell me that this is just for medical marijuana, because we know, Leo, that a number of the people that get this marijuana have nothing wrong with them. I got a hangnail. Doctor, write me a prescription.
Well, Fred, if it's not being used for medical marijuana, it shouldn't be sold or dispensed at all. If it's being used for medical marijuana, then no way. No restriction.
These are people who are too terrified to have a drug dealer. But if we're talking about what's bad for you, cigarettes are sold close to schools, there are liquor stores, there are candy bars. Drugs are a fact of life, and hiding them makes them more forbidden and more alluring. Like I was saying, these are the most boring people who go to these places.
Amy, they're illegal. They're illegal. Hiding them makes them more forbidden. They're illegal.
You know what? This stops no one from using them. There are PhDs who are potheads.
Well, I understand, but of course it stops people from using them if they're illegal.
Well, frankly, I'd rather have more people relaxing with pot because, they don't want to go out on the road. They want to lie down and have a sheet of brownies. This is better for all of us.
Come on now. I want to make sure this is clear. We're talking about medical marijuana, not illegal marijuana. Medical marijuana, I got no problem with it being dispensed 500 feet from the school. It's for medical purposes.
All right.